Good morning. Happy Friday to you. We're going to be reading today chapter 5 from Richard Sibbes' classic Christian book, The Bruised Reed and the Smoking Flax. It's Friday today, but you can kind of lose track of the days with the new realities we're facing. So we move in one chapter a day. Today's chapter is fairly short, but it is very, very good. So I hope you'll listen carefully and benefit today from this chapter. Chapter 5. Grace is a little at first. For the second branch, God will not quench the smoking flax or wick, but will blow it up till it flameth. In smoking flax there is but little light, and that weak, as not being able to flame, and this little mixed with smoke. The observations hence are first, that in God's children, especially in their first conversion, there is but little measure of grace, and that little mixed with much corruption, which, as smoke, is offensive. Secondly, that Christ will not quench this smoking flax. Observation 1. For the first, grace is little at the first. There are several ages in Christians, some babes, some young men. Grace is as a grain of mustard seed, Matthew 27:20. Nothing so little as grace at first, and nothing more glorious afterward. Things of greatest perfection are longest in coming to their growth. Man, the perfectest creature, comes to perfection by little and little. Worthless things as mushrooms and the like Jonah's gourd, soon spring up and soon vanish. A new creature is the most excellent frame in all the world, therefore it groweth up by degrees. We see that in nature, that a mighty oak riseth of an acorn. It is with a Christian as it was with Christ, who sprang out of the dead stock of Jesse, out of David's family, when it was at its lowest, but he grew up higher than the heavens. It is not with the trees of righteousness as it was with the trees of paradise, which were created all perfect at the first. The seeds of all the creatures in this goodly frame of the world were hid in the chaos, in that massed confusion at the first, out of which God did command all creatures to arise. In the small seeds of plants lie hid both bulk and branches, bud and fruit. In a few principles lie hid all comfortable conclusions of holy truth. All these glorious fireworks of zeal and holiness in the saints had their beginning from a few sparks. Let us not therefore be discouraged at the small beginnings of grace, but look on ourselves as elected to be blameless and without spot. Ephesians 1:4. Let us only look on our imperfect beginning to enforce further strife to perfection and to keep us in a low conceit. Otherwise, in case of discouragement, we must consider ourselves as Christ doth, who looks on us as such as he intended to fit for himself. We call a little plant a tree because it is growing up to be so. Who is it that despises the day of little things? Zechariah 4:10. Christ would not have us despise little things. The glorious angels disdain not attendance on little ones, little in their own eyes, and little in the eyes of the world. Grace, though little in quantity, yet is much in vigor and worth. It is Christ that raiseth the worth of little men in mean places and persons. Bethlehem the least, Micah 5:2, and yet not the least. The least in itself, not the least in respect. Christ was born there. The second temple, Haggai 2:9, came short of the outward magnificence of the former, yet more glorious than the first, because Christ came into it. The Lord of the temple came into his own temple. The pupil of the eye is very little, yet seeth a great part of the heaven at once. A pearl, though little, yet is of much esteem. Nothing in the world of so good use as the least dram of grace. So this is a very encouraging chapter as we read it, considering how things begin small oftentimes, and oftentimes we feel a sluggishness or a slow to grow kind of approach in our lives. And Of course, some of us feel that for many, many years. It lasts and lasts, but we need to remember that God is doing something in his people, and that if we know Christ, that he's going to grow us. The one who began a good work is going to complete that good work. And so for me, I'm encouraged by this chapter. Think about that mighty oak growing from that little acorn, and all the good illustrations that Sibbes gave in this chapter. Very, very encouraging for me today. I hope it is for you too. Thank you for listening today, and I hope you have a great day.